How's it going? Ryan here at eTrailer.com. Today on our 2010 Jeep Wrangler, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the RoadMaster stoplight switch kit. Now the reason you're going to need a stoplight switch kit is if you're using a braking system that has an indicator light. And that's because for our Jeep to get flat towed down the road, we're going to have to disconnect our battery. And our factory stoplight switch needs battery power to function properly. And since the braking system indicator light needs that brake switch signal to turn on, our switch kit is going to provide us with that signal. And that's because it is a remote or secondary switch that we're going to run directly to our battery post to provide us that power that we need. So whenever the braking system applies the brake pedal on our Jeep, that stoplight switch is then going to transfer that signal up to our indicator light, letting us know that the system is functioning. So overall, really simple component that's going to allow our indicator light to work, allowing us to keep an eye on things as we go down the road. Now keep in mind, our wiring is just one of 5 main components needed to flat tow our Jeep down the road. The other 4 are going to include your base plate, your tow bar, a braking system, as well as safety cables. Now when it comes to the installation, it is relatively straightforward. The bracket is specifically designed for your Jeep, and the wiring is pretty easy. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and do that together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here in our driver's seat, and we're going to be working underneath the dash. So right here, we're going to have a panel, and we're going to take that off to give us some room to work. So to do that, you'll simply just kind of grab the bottom with your hand, pull it away, and set it to the side. So now if you follow your brake pedal arm up, you can kind of see through that opening where we remove that panel. We're going to mount our black bracket. So if you look up, there's going to be a plastic white box here, and right above that, there's going to be a 8mm screw. So what you're going to do is remove that 8mm screw, and then you can take the bracket and use that 8mm screw to re-secure it to get our bracket in place. Now we're able to mount our switch to the other end of our bracket. So what you're going to do is take the switch and your silver nut, and you're going to push that through the bracket, and then on the other side of the bracket you're going to place on a star washer followed by another nut and tighten it down, and that's what's going to hold the switch secure to the bracket. Now on the other side of that switch, there's going to be almost a pinkish plunger that's going to rest against the metal brake pedal arm. And so how you're going to want to set that up is whenever the brake pedal is just in its natural relaxed position, you're going to want that plunger to be fully depressed so it won't be visible. However, whenever you barely push the brake pedal down, you're going to see that plunger start to kind of come out. And that's how you're going to want to set your switch up. Now we can focus on wiring our switch up. So we're going to have 2 wires that's coming out of the back of the switch. Now when we wire this, it does not matter which wire goes to which side of the switch. So you can hook 2 wires up to either one. So one of the wires on the switch will get connected to our indicator light, which in our case we're using the Stay and Play Duo system. So that's going to get connected to the red wire from our indicator light. And I just used a butt connector to make that connection. The other wire, that's going to need a power source. So what I've done was take a length of wire and connected it to our switch, and that ran out into the engine compartment so we can hook it up to the battery. So the length of wire that I used to run into the engine compartment is this yellow wire, and now I can show you the path that I took to get to our battery and the engine compartment. So what I've done is drilled a hole in our firewall here and just use a piece of rubber hose to almost act as a grommet to protect our wiring, and I ran it through there. So the other wires are for our braking system And so you're going to have to make an opening if you're doing a braking system anyway. So that gives you a nice, good, easy place to run that brake light wire right through. So here's where our yellow wire came up through the firewall, and I brought it up and ran it over to the battery following this factory wiring here, and just securing it with the fuse zip ties along the way. So here's the end of our yellow wire, and what we're going to do with it is connect a included fuse holder to it. So I just used a butt connector to connect those two together. And before you hook it up to the battery, you want to make sure to open the dust cap and make sure that the fuse is not installed. On the other end of the fuse holder, you're just going to put a ring terminal on it. That way you can connect it to the battery post. And once you have that connected, all you'd simply do is take the included fuse and put that in the holder and close up your dust cap. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the RoadMaster stoplight switch kit on our 2010 Jeep Wrangler.